Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Prema Nanda Pradayane Kalo Kalamashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kamadi Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Astatarashata, Sri Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta, Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad, Paramahansa Astatarasata, Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya-lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And I'm offering my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Today we have a very eminent group of Vaishnavas, all my godbrothers. And our little adopted son. So we're reading Vilapa-kusumanjali. Today we will hear the second shloka. We heard quite a wonderful commentary yesterday by Srila Gurudev on Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's introductory verse. So here's verse number 2 by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. Oh, can I get a songbook? I need to prop this up. Stala Kamalini Yuktam Garvita Kananesmin Pranayasi Varahasyam Pushpa Gutcha Chalena Api Nikila Latasta Sora Bhakta Samuncham Mrigayati Tava Margam Krishna Bringo Yad Adya. O lotus tree, on the pretext of this bunch of new blossoms, you are now broadly smiling in this forest. Again, O lotus tree, on the pretext of this bunch of new blossoms, you are now broadly smiling in this forest. You have every right to be proud. After all, the black Krishna bee has left all the fragrant flower vines, and he is now searching for the pathway to you. So, I think we can already guess, who is this lotus tree? And of course, we know that it's the Krishna bee, the black Krishna bee, who has left all the fragrant flower vines, and he is now searching for the pathway to you. Srila Gurudev's commentary. In this shloka, Raghunath Das Goswami prays, Stala Kamalini Yuktam Garvita Kananesmin. That means, quote, here, Stala Kamalini means land lotus. Stala Kamalini. Land lotus. The Kamala, the lotus, blooms in sunlight. And the Kamalini, the female lotus, blooms at night by Chandra Prakash, the light of the moon. The word Chandra here means Krishna Chandra. This is still in quotes here. He's paraphrasing. You are laughing. Why are you laughing? Is there anything behind this? I think that in this Kanane, in this Vrindavan, you have fully blossomed. Softness, fragrance, and madhu, honey, are all present in you. You are laughing because you are quite abhimanani. Abhimanani means proud. So, ladies are greatly proud when their husbands are obedient to them, and they try to please them at any cost. You are proud because you are understanding that all other gopis are nothing in comparison to you. You are laughing as if you are a pushpa gutcha chalena. That means several lotuses in one cluster. Here the word gutcha, cluster, means laughing, glancing, and so on. So there's many metaphors in this verse. Rupa Manjari may question Rati Manjari. Why are you speaking in this way? Rati Manjari will reply, I see that the bee loves flowers. In this Vrindavan, there are so many flowers, and each one is more beautiful than the other. You are the most fragrant, however, and therefore that bee, that black Krishna bee, is leaving behind all other lotus flowers and coming only to you. He does not go here and there. You have bound him by your fragrance, your saundarya beauty, your madhurya sweetness, your rupa form, and all your other qualities. You have bound him. Will you have mercy upon me so that I can realize and taste everything that you are tasting? Please give me a little bit of your mercy. Yes. So Rupa Manjari may question Rati Manjari. Why are you speaking in this way? Then Rati Manjari will reply what we just heard. Because I see that the bee loves flowers. In this Vrindavan there are so many flowers and each one is more beautiful than the other. You are the most fragrant, however. And therefore that bee, that black Krishna bee, is leaving behind all other lotus flowers and coming only to you. He does not go here and there. You have bound him by your fragrance, by your saundarya, your beauty, your madhurya, your sweetness, your rupa, your form, and all your other qualities. Will you have mercy upon me so that I can realize and taste everything that you are tasting? Please give me a bit of your mercy. So Rati Manjari is saying that to Rupa Manjari. So then Gurudev says, we are not able to speak like this to our Guru. So praying to Radhika and Rupa Manjari. Now, this is the next phase of explaining this. Praying to Radhika and Rupa Manjari. In verse 1, Raghunath Das Goswami, as Rati Manjari or Tulsi Manjari, has prayed to Rupa Manjari. What did he say? He said, you are so beautiful, so qualified, and so important for Krishna. He has therefore left all the other Sakis and come only to you. This is the Mahima, glory of Rupa Manjari, her Gurudev. Actually, there is no word Gurudev in that realm. There is no sambandha, relation of Gurudev, only that of Priya Saki. Beloved, dear Saki, dear friend. I asked Gurudev this question once. I think I asked him, we hear that when we attain perfection, that we will be there in Goloka Vrindavan, and also our Guru, and also so many associates. So will we know, this is my question, will we know that he or she, now in the form of a she, is my Guru? We said, no, there is no Guru there. No Gurudev. This conception, Guru-disciple, is not there. Only Saki. So now we just heard Gurudev again, reiterated this point. There is no sambandha, relation of Guru, only that of Priya Saki. Now, after praying to Gurudev, one should pray to one's Ishtadev. A question may arise here. When Krishna came to Rupa Manjari, leaving the other gopis, did he also leave behind Srimati Radhika? Surely Krishna has left all the gopis to meet Srimati Radhika. Therefore, this verse can be interpreted in two ways. The first meaning is general, but the special meaning is that Raghunath Das Goswami is doing prarthana, prayers, to Srimati Radhika, his Ishtadev. Sorry, his Ishtadevi. Who is? Raghunath Das Goswami is doing prarthana to Srimati Radhika, his Ishtadevi. He is saying, "Oh, my dear Radhika, you are Stala Kamalini, not Jala Kamalini." So what's the difference? Just to, if you can catch what was just said before.
One is water and one is land.
That's right.
But is there such a thing as a land lotus?
Yeah, now we're going to find out about that. So, oh my dear Radhika, you are Stala Kamalini, land lotus, not Jala Kamalini, water lotus. You are like a land lotus, not a water lotus. Yuktam Garvita. It is befitting that you are proud. These are very beautiful ideas, Gurudev says. It is very fitting that you are proud. Now, Radhika's abhisar with Krishna. Abhisar means meeting. Here, there is a reference to a pastime. Srimati Radhika is at first not ready to do abhisar and meet Krishna. Krishna has sent Vrindadevi as his messenger to inform her that he will immediately die if he cannot see her. Who did he send? Yes. So she must therefore meet him at the Sanket Kunj, either in Vrindavan, near the Yamuna, or at Sanket, or wherever Krishna has indicated. The duty, you know what duty means? Yes. Duty, D-U-T-I, not D-U-T-Y. D-U-T-I, duty. So the duty, the messenger, may be Vrindadevi, and it may also be Purnamasi or Nandimukhi. At times, Krishna himself, as Apta Duty, he may indicate his desires to Srimati Radhika not by telling, but simply by glancing from the corners of his eyes. And by the corners of her eyes, Srimati Radhika also admits her desires. Krishna's Vamshi may also act as the messenger. The Vamshi is also called Apta Duti or Vamshi Duti. In this way, there may be so many messengers. I just want to mention one thing about Sanket. We've gone there every year. Sanket is in between where and where? That's right, Varshana and Nandagam. Yes. How far is that? We walked it one time, remember that, in 94?
It's closer to Nandagam.
Because we were in Nandagam, and then we went to Varshana, and that time we didn't have buses at that particular time of the month. And so they had planned it that we would just hire tractors with the big, what do you call it, the big back parts, like the back of a pickup truck. And we would put all of our luggages, and then we would walk. So we actually walked all the way. And I don't think that time that we actually stopped at Sanket. But in between, practically halfway in between, is the place called Sanket.
I thought it was closer to Nandagam.
Maybe slightly.
She's coming from...
But it is between. It is between them.
It's just before Udavakyadi, isn't it?
Udavakyadi.
Udavakyadi is almost
Before.
from Nandagam.
I think it's a little farther.
It's before.
A little farther.
When you're coming from Varshana and you're going down.
Well, we were going from Nandagam to Varshana at that time. Yeah. So, do you know what the word Sanket means? And what that place, the name Sanket, Remember what it means?
Some secrets, call or something.
Sanket means indication. Yeah, indication, Sanket. So that's a place where Radha and Krishna met many, many times, because it's in between each place. And there would be many duties, different messengers, who would arrange the time and all of that. And I remember when we were at Sanket, we always hear about this, how the gopis indicate different things. So they have many signals, sign language, toe language. They have all kinds of different signals to indicate, the message that they want to convey, what time, in which direction, which kunja, and they do all of this by different sankets, different indications. So, Srimati Radhika then proceeds towards the kunja, bringing with her only a very few highly qualified Sakhis like Rupa-manjali and Rati-manjali. At times, Subal may also come and lead her. Why will Subal come?
He's a protector and maybe brother, right? So.
No, that's not her brother.
Srila.
Sridham is Srimati Radhika's brother.
Priyanarmasaka.
He's a Priyanarmasaka. That's why he can do that kind of seva. So, at times, Subal may also come and lead her, Srimati Radhika. You know that pastime. Because Subal, his bodily resemblance is practically exactly like Srimati Radhika. Did you know that? He's practically identical to Srimati Radhika. And therefore, there was a pastime. I don't know if Gurudev is coming to that right now, but maybe he is. Let me see. Otherwise, if he doesn't, then I'll say. That night, that Radhika is being led there, proceeding toward the kunja, with only very highly qualified Sakhis. Subal may also come and lead her. That night is very dark and cold, and the sky is full of clouds pouring rain. On such a night, to avoid detection, Radhika dresses accordingly in a black dress, dark ornaments, and she removes or silences her ankle bells with a cloth. And on full moon or moonlit nights, she dresses completely in white. That's why the deities, full moon, they're dressed in white. They didn't exactly do it this time, but sometimes they do it here with the white outfits. So on another day, Vrindadevi came from Krishna. She offered many prayers. She wept and did everything else possible. Who came? Vrindadevi. And she came from who? From Krishna. Krishna sent her. And then she offered many prayers and wept and did everything else possible, but Srimati Radhika's man did not leave. She would not meet Krishna. She would not allow him to come to her, and therefore he was very unhappy. Time was passing, and finally Krishna asked Subal, "Can you help me?" Subal replied, "Surely I will help you." He at once went to Srimati Radhika and spoke in such a way that she began to weep. He told her, "Krishna is now about to die. He will not..." And at once, as soon as he said that, Srimati Radhika became ready, and Subal Saka went ahead, and then keeping her hand on the shoulder of Vrinda, and accompanied only by Rupa Manjari and one or two other Manjaris, Srimati Radhika went to Krishna. One day it was like this, then on another day Lalita and Vishaka were there, and on another it was different again. The pastime may take place in several ways, not only in one way. Yeah, so there's the pastime told by Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, I think, in that, what's the name of that book again? That, like these two paintings. Huh? Prem Samput, yeah, I think. And it has the story when Srimati Radhika could not get out of her house in Javat. And she was being watched by who? Jatila and Kutila, mother-in-law, sister-in-law. She couldn't get out. And Krishna was beside himself. He was just on the outskirts of the forest, near to Javat. And at that time, he told to Subal, Subal, you have to help me. So Subal went there. And when he came near to the house, because the cow sheds are right near the house, and so, Jatila knows Subal, and she knows that he's a friend of that very, very bad person, Krishna. So she can't fully trust him. So, but Subal, he just told to Jatila, because Jatila said, what are you doing here? And then he said, oh, I'm looking for my calf. My calf has escaped. So I just want to see if my calf came here. So then Jatila said, okay, you can look, but be quick. Right? So then he went into the cowshed, and from the cowshed, he climbed up and into the room of Srimati Radhika, where she was also beside herself in separation mood, surrounded by her Sakhis. And then Subal came into the room. They said, oh, Subal, you've come. And then he said, yes, I've come that you should come, that I'm making an arrangement that you should go and meet Krishna because he's about to die. And so then he explained to her, because Subal looks like who? Yeah. Yes. So now he told Radhika, now you take my cowherd dress, and I will take your dress, and I'll remain here. And you can go down, and you can go into the cowshed and pick up a calf in your arms, so that you will not be discovered then. So then she came down in the dress of Subal and went straight to the cowshed and picked up a calf, and then she came out, and Jatila saw, oh, Subal, you found your calf? Yes, I found my calf, now I'm going. Okay. So then, and because Radhika can speak in exactly the voice of Subal, all of these personalities, they can disguise themselves in every possible way. So even the mother-in-law could not tell. So then she went exactly to the edge of the forest where Subal had told her to go. But from a little bit of a distance, as she came into the forest pathway, she saw Krishna sitting there on a rock or something, and he was just so much lamenting. And Radhika, in the form of Subal, in the dress of Subal, came nearer and nearer, and then Krishna saw, oh, Subal, you could not bring Radhika? And then in the voice of Subal, Radhika said, no, it was too much difficult. They were guarding at every turn. And when he began to just lament and weep. But then Radhika in the dress of Subal came nearer and nearer, and then sat down right next to Krishna. And then Krishna understood. oh, you're Radhika, by her fragrance and everything. And then they had a very beautiful meeting. So that's one pastime. Now, Kila Kinchita Bhav. Heard this term before? Kila Kinchita Bhav. Say that.
Kila Kinchita Bhav.
Kila Kinchita Bhav. As Srimati Radhika now nears the Kunja and sees Krishna waiting, she at once turns and is ready to return to her palace. The Sakhis are thinking, why is she returning? Krishna is also thinking. He is also thinking so. He approaches her and at first prays to her to stay, but she ignores him and continues to leave for her own palace. Krishna then creates obstructions. He blocks her path and at last catches hold of her hands and tries to take her with him. At that time, Srimati Radhika feels intense pleasure in her heart. Tears are in her eyes, and on her mouth there is anger. So many bhavs are coming at the same time, and this is known as Kila Kinchita Bhav. Say that.
Kila Kinchita Bhav.
Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself displayed these transcendental ecstasies during the Rath Yatra festival. At last, Sri Krishna takes Srimati Radhika to the Kunja, and Rupa Manjari is seeing their meeting through a hole in the creepers of the Kunja. Rupa Manjari becomes astonished and thinks, such a beautiful meeting. I've never seen anything like this. They are so premi, full of love. I am greatly fortunate to see this. Then, seeing that Rati Manjari is not there, she calls. Who calls? Rupa Manjari. Oh, my dear Rati Manjari, where are you? Are you not seeing this? If not, your eyes are not successful. The success of the eyes is only to see these beautiful, sweet exchanges. And thinking like this, Rupa Manjari leaves the Kunja to search for Rati Manjari. This is a natural feeling. If a man acquires something very sweet and tasteful, he wants that his friend will also taste it. If a disciple tastes something wonderful, he wants his Gurudev to also taste it. If a devotee obtains something very tasteful, he desires that Radhika and Krishna also taste it. He does not want to taste such sweetness alone. So, Rupa Manjari is looking here and there and thinking, where is my dear, so dear Rati Manjari, the very bosom Sakhi of Srimati Radhika? Rati Manjari always serves and learns how to serve under the guidance of Rupa Manjari. In turn, Rupa Manjari wants that every taste should also be savored by Rati Manjari. Therefore, leaving this scene, she at once went to search, thinking, where is Rati Manjari? Rati Manjari had just completed her service and was also searching for Rupa Manjari, thinking, where is Rupa Manjari? So in this way, they were both searching for each other. Meeting each other, well, this is like a subtitle. Oh, let us go. What sweet pastimes are taking place. Meeting each other. So Rupa Manjari took Rati Manjari in her arms and said, oh, let us go. What sweet pastimes of Krishna are taking place. Rati Manjari quickly proceeded to that place with Rupa Manjari, who then encouraged her. She said, look at this. the gap in the foliage of the kunja from where all the pastimes can be seen in the kunja is called gavaksha. The gap. You can peep through the peephole. That's called gavaksha. Those outside can see in, but the persons in the kunja cannot see them. Otherwise, the lila would end. So in order for their pastimes to continue freely and not be hampered, they must not allow themselves to be seen. When their pastimes were over, Srimati Radhika called for Rupa and Rati Manjari. Rati Manjari has the seva of fanning with a chamara, and therefore Srimati Radhika said, "We are tired. Where is your chamara? Please fan us with the chamara and massage our feet. We are very tired." How'd you like Srimati Radhika to tell that to you? So in this second shloka, Rati Manjari is describing that scene. Stala Kamalini Yuktam Garvita Kananesmin. Here, Kananesmin means in this very Kanana. Kanana means garden. It may be at Radha Kund, it may be at Sanket, it may be at Seva Kunj, or it may be at any Kunj of Govardhan. She tells Radhika, "You are so Garvita, so proud. Pranayasi Varahasyam. You are Kamalini, like a lotus flower. And it seems as though that lotus flower is laughing. You are laughing. Pushpa Gutcha Chalena. It seems that hundreds and thousands of lotus flowers are in one big cluster. This is called Sahasra Dala Kamala. The flowers are not separate, and yet they are separate. All the lotuses are blossoming, and a wonderful fragrance emanates from them. Still passing over all the other lotus flowers, a bumblebee is searching for this particular cluster of lotus blossoms." Next section, the Krishna bee is searching, waiting to serve Srimati. Why is Rati Manjari speaking like this? While Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari were coming to see this pastime, Padma and Shaibya were waiting for Krishna at Gauri Kund. Who is Padma and Shaibya?
Sakis of Chandravali.
Yes. They were trying to discover a way to arrange a meeting for Chandravali. Chandravali was in her kunja, and they were at the door of the kunja. Krishna was coming from home, and he was on his way to meet Srimati Radhika at Sanket Kunj, where she was waiting for him. Then, Rati Manjari and Rupa Manjari had gone to bring Krishna to Srimati Radhika. And although they were at a distance, they were accompanying him. On the way, Padma and Shaibya told Krishna, "Oh, your Sakhi Chandravali is here waiting for you." Then Krishna replied, "I am coming to her at once. I have just heard that there is a demon, Aghasur, or a demon like Aghasur nearby, and is causing a great disturbance. I must go there now, but I will not delay. I am coming. Wait here for me." So Krishna, what happened? What's going on here?
They're trying to distract him.
Who's they?
Shaiva,
And where are they trying to bring him?
Chandravali's Kunj.
Right. And who else is trying to get to bring Krishna?
Rupnati.
Yes. But first, Krishna came near to there, on his way. So now they told that your dear Sakhi is waiting for you, Shaibya and Padma. But what did Krishna answer?
You had to go kill a demon.
He said, I am coming to her at once. I have just heard that there is a demon Aghasura, or a demon like Aghasura nearby. He is causing great disturbance. I must go there now. But I will not delay. I am coming. Wait here for me. And saying this, Krishna left to go to Srimati Radhika, and Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari followed behind. What happened next? Upon meeting Srimati Radhika, Rupa and Rati Manjari now speak these words. Api Nikila Latas Ta Sora Bhakta Samunjan. That means, leaving all the other creepers and flowers that are so exquisite, sweet, and fragrant, that black bee has come to you. How lucky you are that Krishna has left all these beautiful young gopis and come to you. Mrigayati tava margam Krishna bringo yad adya. That bee is searching and waiting for this flower. So in literature, this is called a reverse analogy. Usually flowers wait for bees because bees can fly and flowers cannot. But here the bee is waiting for the flower. In other words, Krishna is waiting to serve Srimati Radhika. Krishna has a wish, and Radhika also has a wish. But the wish of Krishna is stronger. He wants Srimati Radhika more than she wants him. The Krishna bee is searching, waiting to serve Srimati Radhika. The Manjaris are only pleased when Krishna serves Radha, when Krishna weeps for Radha, or when Krishna tries for and searches for Radha. And at that time, they become so delighted. Who becomes delighted? Manjaris, yes. They say, the Manjaris say to Srimati Ji, we are so lucky, and you are also so lucky, because Krishna is waiting to render service to you. Having left all the creepers, the flowers, and all else, he has come to you and is flying around your lotus feet. In this way, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has prayed primarily to his Aradhya Devi, Srimati Radhika, and secondly, to his Gurudev. So in this meaning, there will be no confusion. So this is now a section where they start to ask questions from Gurudev. And it's titled, Actual Greed Comes in a Very Advanced Stage. So the question, there are two types of Kam Anuga. One is for Sambhog Atmika, and the other is for Tat Tat Bhav Ichatmika. If somebody has the desire for Sambhog in Rag Anuga, can he enter Vrindavan? Understand the question? Can you explain? With the mic.
So it's being asked, if one has this desire for personal meeting with Krishna directly, does this disqualify him from entering in Vrindavan?
Yes. And Gurudev is saying there's two types of Kam Anuga. One is Sambhogatmika, the other is Tatat Bhavichatmika. So we've heard about this. Srila Gurudev answers the question about whether that person can enter Vrindavan. He says no. And neither will he enter Dwarka. He will go to hell. or he will remain here in this world. Sambhog is a very bad thing. It is only proper in that aprakrita, transcendental realm. So I think what Gurudev has deduced from the question is that that person who was asking the question had some material conception about it. So therefore Gurudev is crushing that. So then there's...
Can you clarify that? Was he, Gurudev, thinking that actually he had desire for sambhog in this world, this body, basically?
Otherwise, why would Gurudev say this?
Right.
Neither will he even enter Dwarka, and he will go to hell. Or he will remain here in this world. Sambhog is a very bad thing. It is only proper in that aprakrita transcendental realm. So then the question, why is it mentioned in the category of Kam Anuga in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? So now here's a clarification of Kam Anuga. So Srila Gurudev says, the Kam Anuga described there is above the Kam of this world. Kam Anuga looks like Kam, but it is pure praying. Kubja has Sambhog Itchamai. Who has? Kubja. But her praying has been discarded. In other words, it's not accepted in the category when discussing these high levels of pure, spotless praying, because she has the desire for Sambhog. The only good quality of her desire for Sambhog is that she wanted Krishna, not another person. So it has therefore been accepted in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as a rasa. But her rasa was nikrishta. Nikrishta means low class. Low class. Then the question is, another question, is this only referring to Kubja? Srila Gurudev, in our stage, we have so many worldly desires. Kamana, he's calling the worldly desires kamana. We have, in our stage, we have so many worldly desires, kamana, to enjoy ourselves in these bodies. There will be some reaction to this material body. And therefore, we should reject all these so-called practices. And we should pray for that kamanuga, which is practiced for obtaining tat bhav ichatmika, the mood of the manjaris. Question. We are not asking for ourselves. Who's telling this?
Leaders?
Yes. Yes. We are not asking for ourselves. So then Gurudev says, this is true for anyone. Many persons are doing this so-called practice for becoming a consort of Krishna, but they actually have no greed. We have nothing to say about them. We can say, or scriptures can say something about those who really have greed. Actual greed comes in a very advanced stage of bhakti. In that stage, one has no desire to enjoy this world or this material body. Is it clear or not? Question. It is clear. But we were wondering why Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu appears to say that somebody can have that mood. It is stated under the category of Kam Anuga. Then Srila Gurudev says, it has been stated only about those who actually already have greed. Their Kam is pure because it is on the transcendental platform. For them, it has been stated. And on the other hand, although Kubja's prema is also mentioned there, our acharyas don't consider her, they don't consider even her prema correct. What to speak of the feelings of conditioned souls here in this world? Kubja has no lust for any other person. Her nishta is only in Krishna. And from Krishna she wanted that thing to enjoy. Our acharyas have accepted it as a type of prema, but at the same time they have rejected it. In real prema, there is only the will that Krishna should be happy. So in this present state, we want our own happiness. Yes?
Sure.
Yeah. In this present state, we want our own happiness. We consider that by serving Krishna, then we ourselves will be happy. When that stage of actual greed will come, by the association of that class of Gurudev or Vaishnava, then all impurities will actually go away. This has been explained in the Ras Panchadhyay of the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:33, verse 39. Vikriditam brajavadubiridam cha Vishnu. This was also mentioned yesterday in the purports. This verse, Vikriditam brajavadubiridam cha Vishnu, Shradhan vito nushinuyad atavarna yedya, Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kaman, Hridrogam ashuapahinoti acharena dira. So this verse is saying that a self-composed person, because here the word for self-composed in this verse is dira, right? Self-composed. A self-composed person who faithfully and repeatedly hears the narrations of Sri Krishna's Rasa dance. This is at the end of the entire 5 chapters of the Rasa Lila. This is the final statement practically of Sukadeva Goswami. And he is saying this, that a self-composed person who faithfully and repeatedly hears the narrations of Sri Krishna's Rasa dance with the Braja Gopis and describes those pastimes, he very quickly attains prema bhakti for the Supreme Lord and quickly dispels the heart disease of what? Lust. Yes. Hrid rogam means heart disease. Hrid means heart, roga means disease. So, now Gurudev explains, some persons say that all anarthas and all calm, worldly lust should disappear by our own efforts. And then we will do bhakti, and then we will hear Ras Panchadhyay. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in his commentary to this shloka that this is not the way. Shraddhanvita, this word, Shraddha Anvita, means possessing strong faith, Shraddha. Shraddhanvita, when we will listen with Shraddha, and here Shraddha means greed. So that's the meaning of Shraddha in this context. That person actually has greed. So when we will listen with Shraddha, and here Shraddha means greed, and with a strong thirst, then in the ratio that we hear, anarthas will disappear. Pratilabhya kamam. First, pure prema will come. First, there's an order, there's a sequence. Gurudev has written a lot about this very point and quoted this very verse in the introduction of his Venugita. So, first, pure prema will come, and it will wash away all worldly impurities. It is not that we first wash away our impurities and then praying will come. Praying will come first, and it will wash away all these things. There must be Shraddha, however, that, what? I want to serve Radha and Krishna. So he's already said, Shraddha means greed in this context. So, this is the ending of this purport here. More questions. And this section is called Mahaprabhu came to give Manjari Bhav, not Naika Bhav. What is Naika? Yes. So the question comes. Rag Anuga devotees follow Krishna's Rag Atmik associates. Among the Ragatmik associates, there are some like Rupa Manjari and Rati Manjari who don't want direct union with Krishna. So, can a Raganuga devotee, not Rupanuga, but any other type of Raganuga devotee, can that devotee want to follow those gopis who want direct union? So what does that mean? Following the Sakhis. Can any Raganuga, and he says not Rupanuga, but any Raganuga devotee follow those gopis who want direct union? Srila Gurudev, answer. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami, this is not a good thing for conditioned souls to desire. We should not go in that direction. You know, in Vrindavan, there is one very famous female devotee of Krishna. All over India, she is known. Mirabai. And what was her mood towards Krishna?
She wanted to have direct relation.
Yes. So Rupa Goswami, she wanted to meet Rupa Goswami, but Rupa Goswami wouldn't meet with her. And it was told that she became a maidservant of the queens in Dwarka. That was what she attained. So Gurudev has stated very clearly that according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Rupa Goswami, this is not a good thing for conditioned souls to desire. We should not go in that direction. Then the question is asked, is there some binding? Is there some binding regarding this? Srila Gurudev says, yes, there are some bindings that one should not try for that. I don't know what they mean by binding in this context. Okay. Yes, there are some bindings that one should not try for that. I think it's prohibitions, like, what's the word? Huh?
Yam and niyam, is it?
Yeah, maybe.
Prohibition.
Yeah, okay, maybe it'll be cleared. Question. Is there any sampradaya that does this? That does what?
Allows for that direction.
That they desire that, right? And they cultivate that. So is there any sampradaya that does this? Srila Gurudev. There is. The difference is here, that a Badha Jiva, a conditioned soul, can only have a Siddha Sharir, perfected spiritual body like that of Rupa Manjari. A condition, a Badha Jiva, can only have that. Our Gaudiya Acharyas have stated, therefore, that the conditioned soul should not try to have Naika Bhav. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come only to give Manjari Bhav, not Naika Bhav. The question, Which Sampradaya does this? Srila Gurudev. Both the Nimbarka and Radha Ballabha line do like this. Srila Rupa Goswami has not accepted this idea. Question. They try, but actually they cannot. Actually, they are sahajiya? Question mark. This is a question by them. They try, but actually they cannot. Actually, they are sahajiya? Srila Gurudev. They are sahajiya. Some persons also do this in our sampradaya. They try. They don't follow Rupa Goswami and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Question. By your description, their practice is basically just worldly lust. Srila Gurudev. Certainly, they want their own pleasure, not Krishna's. Question. Therefore, you said there is no lobha. No greed, no lobha. Srila Gurudev, no lobha. From where will one attain this genuine greed, this lobha? There must be a lobhi person from whom we can have it. Without such association, we cannot have this consciousness. Though it is written about in Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Goswami's Granthas, it must come to us through the lotus mouth of a self-realized person who has it. So, there is no other way. Nasteva, nasteva. Right? There's a book written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Gurudev has also given his commentary on that. Ragavartma Chandrika, right? You know, I think it was reprinted recently also, or re-edited or whatever. But that book is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur telling specifically how one can attain this perfection of Manjari Bhav and so forth. And we know, we've heard this many, many times, that one has to come onto the pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti and Rag Anuga, and especially Rupa Anuga Bhakti. Gurudev would always emphasize. You know? So, in that pathway, one has to have the impressions from, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, from either previous life impressions, and where do those impressions come from? Exactly what Gurudev is saying. Only by the association of such a lobhi, Raganuga Bhakta, pure. Only by hearing. Gurudev is saying here, you can, and he said, though it is written about in Srimad Bhagavatam and in all the Goswami Granthas, but it must come to us through the lotus mouth of a self-realized person who has it. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur stated there in the Ragavartma Chandrika, more very specifically and broadly, he's made this point that there's actually this only one way, is either that's kind of association in previous life or in this life, or both.
I thought everything was in Prabhupada's books.
It is. But you have to hear Prabhupada's books from the lips of such a person.
As Logi.
Yes.
Can Raganuga Bhakti be taught? It can be.
It's not an external thing that you can learn, because you can't come onto the pathway without greed. We're hearing about it, right? We are hearing about Rag, Anuga Bhakti, and so forth. We're reading this book. Gurudev is teaching about it. But that doesn't mean that we have greed. It is very beneficial for us. It may be that greed will develop one day because of hearing and reading and studying. But as far as like teaching it, no. But guidance is required when someone has greed and then comes to that stage. Then they must hear and hear and hear. And then they will adopt the practices that are there. Actually, Rupa Goswami has also written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, forget that Sanskrit of that verse, but even when greed awakens and someone now is qualified to come onto the pathway of Ragmarg Bhakti, they will still follow, for the most part, the strictures and so forth that are given for Vaidhi Bhakti. Mostly they'll follow that. But according to their own bhavs and moods, they may not follow certain strictures. See? So, yeah, so we have to be aware. See, this is one of the things that Srila Gurudev really came to teach to the Western section of Vaishnavas, and make it very explicitly clear that Krishna in Goloka, in Braj, that Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, Mother Yashoda, the beloved of the gopis, who we sing about every day, Yashamati Nandana, Brajabaranagara, Gokula Ranjana Kana, that Krishna, he's not attainable through Vaidhi Bhakti. Although Vaidhi Bhakti is given by Rupa Goswami in the beginning of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. But only by Vaidhi Bhakti alone, Krishna is not attainable. And this is something that wasn't clear. I know, because we all know. Because we all thought that we just do this, and then we go back to Godhead, right? Right? What did we think?
Prabhupada encouraged us in that way.
Yeah.
We thought we'll follow the 4 principles, chant our 16 rounds, and go back to Godhead.
That's right.
In this lifetime.
Very rare he mentioned that. Very rare that he mentioned in this life. When he said that, it's very rare that he mentioned, you will go back in this life. But he mentioned it. I'm not saying he didn't mention it.
But in that context.
Yeah, he because there's more to that. Because if you do that, right, what happens? If you actually follow 4 regulated principles, you chant 16 rounds, you associate with the Vaishnavas, and you do seva, what happens?
You become purified, and then you become some attachment. There's some attachment, then the raga nuga develops.
Yeah, definitely purification is taking place,
Yeah.
but that, just that alone, the purification, is not enough to bring us on the pathway of Ragmarg Bhakti. What's the verse?
Guidance.
What's that verse? Ramananda Roy spoke to Mahaprabhu. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitavati. You see? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitavati. Kriyatam api kutopi labhyate. Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. Janma koti sukritayar nalabhyate. By Sukriti, even millions of lives of Sukriti, it is stated here, Janma Koti Sukritayar. By Sukriti, even Bhakti Unmukha Sukriti, by doing Vaidhi Bhakti and so forth, purification and also Sukriti, like this. By that, even from millions of lives, it is not attainable. What is not attainable? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. That is the line from which Srila Prabhupada derived the term Krishna consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasa. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavita Mati. So the message that Gurudev wanted to bring was based upon the reason why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his primary reason for descending into this world, is based upon that, to understand that, what he came to give, what he came to experience himself. And what he came to give, very specifically, Manjari Bhav, but how can it be received by the conditioned soul?
Through guidance.
Yeah, but can it be received by simply performing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti?
No.
No, it cannot. Because we just read, it will come only from a person who has lobha. Now, devotees may say, well, Srila Prabhupada was perfected. He was the highest. He had lobha. He had everything. We just have to read his books and we just have to listen to his tapes and so forth. And to some extent, that certainly is true. But you cannot, and especially, see, like, for example, Srila Gurudev, he was being invited by the ISKCON leaders to give these classes and all that, right? But then at one point, they made him a persona non grata for the ISKCON devotees. Don't go to him, don't hear from him, don't read his books, anything like that. The very person whom Srila Prabhupada wanted to give these things, now they're making rules and regulations to not allow him to do it and to separate him completely, you see. So this is a great tragedy. But the thing is, Gurudev has said, when it's time for a devotee to hear these things, Krishna will send. Krishna will make the arrangements. You see. So, Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharam. And that's a famous verse in the beginning of the 4th chapter of Adi Lila. Krishna, he comes for 2 purposes. E dui hetu hoite ichar udagama. Krishna comes for 2 purposes. And what is that? Rasika Shekhar Krishna. Parama Karunya. He has these 2 qualities. He is the supreme taster of all ras, and he is supremely merciful. Parama Karunya. So, E dui hetu hoite ichar udgama. For these 2 purposes, he has descended. One of them is for himself. The other is for the benefit of all the jivas. Why? Because he's Parama Karunya. He's supremely merciful. So, Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharan. Prem Ras Niryas Korite Asvadan. Prem Ras Niryas means the very, very essence of all Prem Ras. That's why Krishna came, to taste the essence of Prem Ras. And Rag Marg Bhakti Loke Korite Pracharan, to preach and to distribute the pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti. So there is a difference between Vaidhi Bhakti and Rag Marg Bhakti. But on this pathway, in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the type of Vaidhi Bhakti that is given by our acharyas is not like the Vaidhi, Bhakti that is given in like South India, the various acharyas, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. It's not the same, because all the practices, like in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, they're all centered on Krishna. That Krishna from Goloka Vrindavan, who is eternally there. So everything that we do, we are being trained to do for Krishna. Because Rupa Goswami has said, Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam.
So that the sadhya is set is the distinction.
The sadhya is set, but yet we see, and Gurudev pointed this out, that so many of the ISKCON leaders, they, because of not having adequate guidance and association, especially after Prabhupada left, that they were somewhat vague on Ishtadeva, who is our worshipable deity, and what is the speciality of Krishna's Braj Lila as opposed to his Dwarka Lila and all of that. right? It was not so clear. So Gurudev, he is the Rag Marg Bhakti Pracharak. He is the preacher of this pathway of Rag Marg Bhakti that Mahaprabhu wanted to instill within this world, through which all the jivas who come to this pathway, they gradually will be able to succeed in attaining their eternal relationship with Krishna through the pathway of Rag Anuga, Rupa Anuga, Bhakti.
So those who follow the regular principles and things like that, do not know about this love and greed, etc., and Raganuga Bhakti, but they're following perfectly, they end up in Vaikuntha. Right? They may end up in Vaikuntha, may. But those who follow the regular principles, how do they end up in Mathura and Goloka and not the Braj Bhakta? Say like somebody went, how did somebody end up in Mathura? Mathura Vasis are different from Braj Vasis. Follow what I'm saying?
Kind of.
What's the difference between a Mathura Vasi? How do you end up there?
They end up
Not
in
Vrindavan.
They end up in New Dwarka rather than New Braj.
That's Dwarka Vasi. But Mathura Vasi, Gurudev used to. I once was with Gurudev and I was going to. I was going to go to Vrindavan, and Gurudev said, "You may go to Vrindavan, but I am here stuck in Kamsa's place in Mathura." So it was quite clear a lot of time Krishna, Gurudev would make a difference between Mathura and Vrindavan. But the Mathura Vasis, they're very, very elevated also. So how would one end up in there and not in Vrindavan?
You mean the Mathuravasis who are born there? In modern day India? Or are you talking about while Krishna was
Say
on
we're
the
practicing
planet?
right now. We're practicing, following the regular principles, doing everything. But we don't have that, Braj connection like with a Gurudev or a Lobi person. How do we, how do we end up someplace like that?
In Mathura?
Yeah.
But you're talking about in our sadhak, sharir.
In your practices like that, yeah.
Well, first of all, in Krishna's pastimes, the three dhams are there. Braj, Vrindavan, Mathura, and Dwarka. Because Krishna has to execute all those pastimes, and his eternal associates, like the Yadu dynasty and so forth, they also descend to assist him in that, right? So, but in modern day, somebody can take birth anywhere. Like Gurudev, he didn't take birth in a dham necessarily, right? So, and anyone, Prabhupada took birth in Calcutta, So the Vaishnavas, it's because of their previous lives, association from previous lives, that they get the good fortune to come into the contact with Braj Rasik Vaishnavas, And without those Braj Rasik Vaishnavas, no one can come onto this pathway. And then Prabhupada, he was that Braj Rasik Vaishnava who brought the Srimad Bhagavatam to the whole world, through which, studying at the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava, all these impressions will come from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Like, Ya Bhagavata Para, Vaishnavayastani,
So does that have to do with what our eternal, eternal form is? Like if your eternal form is to Braj, you're not going to end up in Mathura. If your eternal form is to be in Mathura,
you may temporarily end up there, though. This is the thing. That's what the whole story of Gopakumar is illustrating in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, right?
But you're not going to stay there eternally.
No, and he didn't either. But he went to so many different levels, and he experienced each one, but he was not satisfied.
Yeah.
Then he chanted his mantras, and then he was brought to the next.
He even went to Vaikuntha.
Yeah, he went to Vaikuntha also. Yeah, it's an amazing story. Tirthapada Prabhu, he did his wonderful presentation of the story of the first part, the Narada Muni is searching, right? Because the first part of the Brihad Bhagavatamrita written by Sanatana Goswami, and actually that's the first book written by any of the 6 Goswamis, was Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Yeah, and so, there's 2 parts. So the first part is describing a journey by Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is searching for that devotee who is the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. So the whole first part, you can read, Tirthapada presented very nicely, that whole first part. You have one of those books with you?
No, they're in Portland.
There's one in the library.
I thought there was.
Oh, maybe.
Okay.
Okay.
They disappeared.
Huh? No,
They
this one is-
disappeared.
Yeah. So, but the second part is the story of Gopakumar, which is so important to hear and to study.
So that in the first part and the second part, first part is actually talking about each devotee that Narada Muni goes to. They have a certain type of love.
Right.
Prahlad Maharaj, Brahma, etc. King, goes to a king first,
Right.
and Brahma. Even Lakshmi Devi is in there. And then Prahlad Maharaj. And then after Prahlad Maharaj, Hanuman, is it? Hanuman.
Yeah.
And all the way to Uddhava. Pandavas, and then Yadavas, and Uddhava.
Right.
And then after Uddhava, they couldn't go any further.
Yes.
That's when the verse comes, Asam Ho Chaturnarini.
Yes.
Uddhava says, the gopis.
Right.
And then the second part starts.
Oh, it ends at Uddhava, the first part.
He's telling me,
Yeah.
There's nothing higher than the mood of the gopis.
Yeah. You know that Brihad Bhagavatamrita, just for our own information, Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, it was one of his favorite books, if not his favorite. And he one time told to our Prabhupada that he had a desire in his own property of the mutt. He wanted to erect a temple. He wanted to erect a temple with different levels, and that would depict the journey of Gopakumara from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. And then he mentioned this to our Prabhupada, right? And then Prabhupada said, because Srila Sridhar said, but I have no means to be able to do that. And then Prabhupada said, we will do it there. It will be done there in Mayapur, and it will be done under your direction. So what we see going up in Mayapur was actually coming from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, that Prabhupada suggested that it could be like a planetarium type thing, Although I'm hearing most recent with that is that, because they named it the TOVP, which means the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. But now I heard that they've taken out the word planetarium. And what they were planning to do was have a chandelier underneath that dome, like showing the movements of the planets and all that. But I heard that now they've kind of scrapped that idea. Yeah. But, I haven't really studied it, but there's lots of different quotes from Prabhupada, and certain persons have certain understandings of what Prabhupada intended, But the original intention was actually to depict the journey of Gopakumar and Narada Muni, like that. We'll see where that ends up. Jai Ho. Jai Shri Vilapa-kusumanjali ki jai. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami Pada ki jai. Rupa Goswami Pada ki jai, 6 Goswamis ki jai, Rupa Nuga Guru Varga ki jai, Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vegacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namo. Tomorrow we'll do verse 3.
Jai.